Meeting is called to order. Rachel Schultz will read the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Rachel. We need a roll call to determine if we have a quorum tonight.
Ron Fruit.
Here.
Karen Tepley.
Here.
Tom McCarthy.
Here.
Rachel Schultz.
Here.
Melanie Walters.
Here.
Steve Downs.
Here.
Ryan Cairns.
Here. Excellent. Was this meeting properly noticed?
Yes.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, approval of the minutes. Once the council's had a moment to read those, entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the special session on 4/8/25 and the council minutes on 4/15/25.
Motion from Alderperson Tepley. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Alderperson Walters. Any discussion of the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. Next up, approval of the agenda. Same deal. Once the council's had a moment to review, entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Mayor, item 15 is reading.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we're removing item 15 from the agenda. Any other amendments? Can be. It's up to you. Okay, I think what I'm going to do here is not take anything off. I'm just going to move the appointment of the alderperson of District 3. It's on item 17. I'm going to move it up and actually do it next. After we've done committee commission board reports, I'll put it after that.
Motion to approve the amended agenda.
Motion by Ms. Walters. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Downs. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda approved. Next up, City and Utility Department Head reports and concerns. Where's the microphone right now? I'm going to start with Mr. Glassbender, who got caught holding the microphone. You're first.
All right, so give just a really brief review. From economic development standpoint, the council will hear information tonight about the congressionally directed spending grant award of $2.5 million that we've been working on for some time. We did have a final submission for it's actually the second draw that deals with Los Amigos CDI grant. Their total grant was $153,000, and they just submitted the second draw request, which would be for approximately $68,500. And yesterday, you may have noticed, they had their first guests in their new expanded restaurant. So I visited there. They were quite happy and pleased with that. So we continue to expect Panorama Estates Buildings 2 and 3 to move forward by June. We have engaged Ellers in financial review of the potential hotel project, so that's ongoing. From a public works standpoint, we did just have a walkthrough inspection of the 8th Street and Park Street project from 2024. Everything went well there. We should have contractors on site this week and next week to button up and do quality control on the project. Frontier Fiber Optic is still engaged in the city to a major extent. Our office is consistently reviewing right-of-way permits that allow access in the city's right-of-way so that people can obtain service. So anything, anytime that another contractor or a group wants to do something in a street right-of-way, they have to obtain permission and a permit from the city. We continue to coordinate with the Bureau of Aeronautics on airport master planning and runway improvement project that we hope the runway improvement project will take place this year. From a buildings and grounds perspective, we're We're close to having our full seasonal team hired. That would be 8 additional people that would come on around the beginning of June. The robot mower was featured in the paper last week, so at least the article was positive. The mower seems to be performing quite well. Our mowing operations are in full swing. It's very difficult to keep up with our full-time staff because of the amount of grounds we're mowing. We are trying to make improvements there and figure out how we can be more efficient. That team is also working to make sure the kayak landings are set and usable for the year. And they're working very closely with Jody Meaton, the Parks and Recreation Director, to make sure that our aquatic center is up and ready to run. So on the street side, they're doing a lot of crack sealing, street repair, street cleaning, and dike and stormwater channel maintenance. And that's what I have.
Thank you, Mr. Glassbrenner. We can keep coming this way, since we got the microphone over here. Go ahead, just pass it up the table, whoever has something to say. Misty, anything for tonight? Amanda, whoever does.
Sure, so I'm preparing for the audit, is it off? Well, that's okay, I'm walking off. I'm working on preparing for the audit. The auditors will be here the week of May 19th, so looking forward to that. I'm sure they'll be impressed with how far we've come in the last year and a half. Working with Amanda on some of the forms and stuff and making sure we're checking the fees and the ordinances and realizing that we need to update some fees in our fee schedule, so we'll be looking at doing that hopefully later this year around budget adoption time. And then as well as reconciling last year's stuff, very close to having everything reconciled through April of this year. So hopefully at next month's meeting, we'll be able to present you with a report.
Thank you.
All right, we've been busy updating forms, as Misty said. Right now is the time that we're starting the renewal process of the alcohol licenses in the city. And since you guys actually updated that policy, we do have 3 reserve licenses. And so going through that process and also updating the website and kind of making it a little bit more user-friendly, making it a place where you can actually submit forms online as well as if you want to drop off forms. So that's been a whole process. So really great.
Thanks. Also, go to Scott Gold.
Good evening. We're on the utility. Our audit was completed 2 weeks ago. Working with Cassell and Brian, we did do a 1-month extension with the PSC. That was due on May 1st, so now it's due June 3rd. They did the extension and the PSC granted that. Spring has definitely sprung, definitely tons of calls, lots of locates. We do about, on an average year, 700 locates. We had 151 last month with the Frontier project in town, so it's consuming a ton of time for the utility to make sure all of our infrastructure is marked. On the water side, they've got started to install the water AMI. We're working on that like 3 days a week. The seasonal meters are installed in the park, cemetery, and the camper stations, so the water is available now. And they're starting their valve exercising, and in the next few weeks we'll be doing hydrant flushing throughout the city. Wastewater, same thing, seasonal root cutting, jetting lines, working with cross-training with the water on the AMI. And we continue to work with wet industry to get some additional load on the system to help with our rates moving forward. Electric side, mentioned the tons of locates. We've installed over 1,000 electric meters for AMI. Tomorrow we host MEW, Randy Larson will be here for safety training. There'll be 5 or 6 other utilities in town doing training here. Join Jason on the walkthrough on 8th Street. Hunter Dishler is finishing up his meter apprenticeship in Green Bay. His test is this week, so he will be completed, and we'll have 2 meter techs along with journeyman linemen at him and JJR. Me and Scott Stahl attended the WPPI Board of Directors meeting last week. Scott came down, went through orientation again. We attended the executive committee meeting that I attend monthly, learn a ton about power supply and how coal plants, renewables, and getting all of that energy back to us cost a ton of money. I've talked about it a little bit, but data centers, WPPI has 51 communities and they peak at about 1,100 megawatts. And the data centers are looking at 2,000 to 3,000 megawatts just for one building. So requires tons of substations, tons of transmissions, and tons of power brought in from the renewable solar fields and wind farms in Minnesota or wherever they're at to get back to us. It's just kind of crazy and intriguing. Chipper that the wood chipper that we're partnering the utilities with the city, got an update. It'll be here in 2 weeks, hopefully. And out at the complex at the north, out at our, with streets, water, and electric, we have 3 skid steers that sit out there. We rent ours from Simpsons, and our lease is up. We're going to partner with water and the streets, and just like we're doing with a lot of things, combining our resources and make more sense. We're looking at a new mini skid steer that has a trencher option on it. We have a 1999 walk-behind trencher that's 26 years old, and looking at updating or bringing that into the fleet with commission approval next week. And Jason from Streets already's got a place that he needs it to clean the dike. They had to go out and lease one before and they'll be able to use it. So it just is another example of how we're working together. And if you look out back, we're finally getting the generator installed, and had some calls that maybe some issues, but that hopefully is online, because a week ago we had a pretty big storm potential, and I know me and Ashley and Jason were talking, and if something happened, and if this was the EOC, we didn't have the updated generator, and just the police side would be on. So kind of lit a fire with those guys, and it's going to get done. So that's all I have.
Okay. Ashley?
Yeah, just a couple things tonight. We do still have some seasonal positions available, so buildings and grounds, streets, and the aquatic center, as well as parks and rec programming. And then I just wanted to note that since the last council meeting, Accurate Appraisals has fully onboarded, and they're providing 100% of the assessor services for the city. So we've updated contact information on the city's website. We do have some cards here, so if anyone in the public or any council members have any questions or need to contact our assessor, they'll go through Accurate Appraisals to do so. That's it.
All right, thank you very much. I think that's everybody. Mr. Saul is here tonight, President of the Utility Commission. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
No,
Thank
Scott
you.
did a good job.
Thank you, yes he did. Okay, next up, Mayor and Older Persons Committee, Commission Board reports and comments and/or items to be discussed at a future meeting. Ron Fruit.
Nothing tonight, Mayor, thank you.
Karen Tepley.
Sure, from the library board, I'd like to report circulation is holding its own. It is spring and people are out and about, so not as often in the library, but it's like they holding its own. We are staying on budget. We're at 19% overall through 3/31. The maintenance line is a little high, but we've had a few projects with furnaces and whatnot. The landscape project is moving along. Mary Nee and a couple of the master gardeners met last Friday, and I think did some choosing of plants and whatnot, so you'll start to see that. Also, the library receives county reimbursements, so the Brewer Library was able to go over to the UW Richland campus and pick out a few things. So they have the young adult area kind of looking pretty spiffy over there. And then we are also looking at the building assessment report, which FEH did several years ago. We do have an area in the front entrance with some railings that are in need of repair, as well as the front stoop. So I believe we'll be working with buildings and grounds shortly, if it isn't in the works already. And last but not least, we have a really nice newsletter that they put out digitally. So if you'd like a copy of everything that's going on in the library, you can get one through your email. Thank you.
Karen, thanks a lot. That was really good. I like the library part. That was really good. Mr. McCarthy.
Nothing tonight, Mayor, thank you.
Rachel.
Nothing tonight, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Melanie.
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Mr. Downs.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Mr. Cairns?
Nothing tonight, Mayor, thank you.
They have a couple of things. The Joint Ambulance Committee meeting that was set for last week was postponed. Hasn't met in a little while, will be shortly. Do you have any information on that I don't have? Coming from the county side, probably not. I see the smirk. That's not the question I asked.
The question is, can I tell you?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, we'll just sit. Okay, also yesterday, Police Chief Billy Jones came to see me and let me know that we've had a resignation. One of our younger officers has decided to move on, so I would imagine in short order, the Police Commission with Chief Jones will begin the search for a new hire. I have no reason to expect otherwise. So watch for that. And I don't know if we'll be putting that on that billboard we discussed in finance we did last time. I'm sure Billy will be coming to talk to you if he hasn't yet. Okay, that's what I had for tonight, which puts us at what was to be item 17. So what happened here, we had a resignation, one of our representatives for District 3, and that term runs through April 15th of next year. We let the public know we would be looking for someone to appoint. I heard from 5 people. What happened is Mr. John Collins withdrew from consideration when he realized how many people had raised their hand. Mr. Thurman Brown did the same. He thanked me and said that he may pursue maybe a school board seat instead because he has 2 children in the school district. The other person is a she, and she said same thing. You guys have great opportunities, great choices, so please don't share my name, I'm out. But that was no problem. That's because all of them felt as though we had 5 good people. So tonight we have 2 who have both told me they're definitely interested, and they're both here this evening. So what's going to happen here in a minute, I'm going to give each one of you another opportunity to address the council, and if they have any questions, let them ask you. And once we've gotten that far, we'll have a vote up here, and one of you will be appointed as a representative of District 3. So I'm going to start with Mr. Martinek. Do you have anything you'd like to say to the City Council?
No, I don't think there's anything new from a couple weeks ago, or a week ago. Just, again, have the time. So, of course, I would like to be involved. Even if I'm not given the position, I will definitely be here and be volunteer in different things. So, I think, as the mayor has said quite often on the radio and whatnot, that everybody needs to be involved. We really need that. So I'm going to start doing my part, I guess. So that's about it.
Thank you. Any questions from the council? Yep.
Well,
Yep.
I've stood in your shoes back in 2018, so I know what this is like a little bit. Based on what you know about city government, what do you see as some top priorities for the city and why?
Well, I think we still need to bring in industry. I think that's very important. Housing is definitely, I think, the number one that I think needs to be done. We still have a lot of jobs to fill and nobody to fill them, nowhere for them to come into. So I think it's been good. I've been talking to the last couple mayors actually about different ideas and helping to get that going. I think we need, everybody talks about a grocery store. I don't know if that's feasible or where that stands, but it's something that I think I hear a lot about. I hear a lot of comments about that. I think we just need to move forward with making a better place to come to, if that's possible. Richland Center is great. I was gone for 20 years, came back, and I'm happy to be back. So, but there's a lot of people that don't come back, and we need those people sometimes. I hope I brought my experiences and stuff with me to help out in the area. So that's what I think we need out of other people too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you, sir. Mr. Heggie.
Hello, my name is George Biggie once again. One thing I didn't point out or thought about a little more after last meeting was healthcare involvement. I don't think anybody in healthcare can just as a council. the softer social sides of our community, volunteering, kinship. And right there, that's that. Council members, what do you know?
Questions from the council?
Well, I might as well ask the same question.
Go
to the
for it,
other
Karen.
candidate, right?
Yep, it's a good question.
So based on what you know about city government, what do you think the top priorities are?
Well, recognizing our limitations by state law, federal law, what we can and cannot do, but yet still trying to be innovative, inspiring. I totally agree, a lot of people have left this community for various reasons, but looking at how we can help promote our community as a desirable place to live and grow and stay and raise families or find employment in housing, definitely housing. Middle-class housing is greatly lacking in this community. I think what we can do to help solve those issues.
Okay. Have either of you ever been an elected official before?
No.
Thank you. And this appointment will take you through April 15th of next year. You'll be appointed also to a list of committees. Anybody have any trouble with work schedule, trying to, because we have to do the things we have to do,
I'm retired.
okay?
I have a fairly set schedule that offers me some flexibility, but mainly a Monday through Friday job, with weekdays.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, here's how we're gonna do this, I'll make it really simple. Mr. Martinick is number 1, George, you're number 2. 1, 2. We're simply going to vote. Just state whether you're voting 1 or 2. Can we do that? You got that? Okay, why don't you go ahead and do a roll call?
All right. Sorry, guys, this is like random order. Walters. 2. Downs.
1.
Cairns.
Abstain.
Fruit.
1.
Tepley.
1.
McCarthy.
1.
Schultz.
2. I believe, what's our total?
1 has 4 and 2 has 2.
Okay, so thank you both very much. Don't go away, sir, because there will be room for you we've got a lot to do down here. And congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so what we'll do is we'll swear you in before the next meeting. Okay, so you don't have to worry about running up here tonight. All right, thank you, everybody, and thanks for the council, to the council. All right, we'll continue here. Next on the agenda is the treasurer's report. I'll just allow the council to review that. If you have questions, please ask them.
So this is a partial treasurer's report. It's the meeting is early in the month. We don't get our local government investment pool statements until around the 7th or 8th of the month. And since the meeting in April was so late in the month, it was the middle of April, you actually had 2 reports last month. So you'll see that there is nothing on the local government investment pool investment. So those funds are not reconciled out yet because I don't have those numbers. Interest rates stay pretty consistent. From on the other accounts from last month to this month. That's it.
And the same applies, normally you see the utility, their treasurer's report in here, but again, their timeline is similar to ours, so they don't have all of the data necessary to complete the full report this month either.
Questions from the council? Okay, thank you. Next item is payment of bills. The council will use those. Will be the following: the bills presented on this day, excluding any library fund invoices, having been referred to the Finance and Budget Committee, and said committee having duly investigated and audited these bills, hereby make the following recommendation: that the city bills presented on this day be paid with the following adjustments and/or exceptions. There are none listed. It is signed by all 3 members of the Finance Committee. Once the council has read through the bills, entertain a motion to pay them.
Motion to approve the bills.
Motion for Mr. Cairns, is there a second?
Second.
Second for Mr. Downs, discussion of the bills. Okay, hearing none, we'll need a roll call.
Walters. Aye. Downs.
Aye.
Cairns.
Aye.
Root.
Aye.
Templey.
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
Motion is carried.
All right, next up, items for discussion and action number 5, Town and Country Engineering contract for force main improvements on Highway 80, and Mr. Gold in a minute, and possibly Mr. Saul. I'm going to ask for some input. That's this, or three books. Okay, what we're doing here tonight didn't have to be done, but is being done in the effort, in the spirit of collaboration and cooperation from utilities to the city council. This has been approved by the utility commission. They have the authority to do that. Mr. Saul, as its president, has signed those. He has the authority to do that. Mr. Todd Fisher brought these to me and basically said, we know we can do this, but we'd like you to sign them too. And I called Mr. Windle and said, how do you feel about that? I think it makes sense. And he said, go ahead and do that. And it's not anything the council has to vote on. It's been done. What this is informational for the council and the public to let them know about this project, which will take place this summer. Mr. Gold, what are we doing here?
Well, there's pipes on 80 North that have been exposed with Pine River pretty low. Worries, obviously, it's a force main that's exposed during a flood if it's hit. We don't need wastewater in the Pine River causing issues. So G-Pro and Gerke bid it. G-Pro won. It's about a 30-day project that they're going to work in over the summer. It was a budgeted line item. There's no loan or nothing. Town and Country normally use MSA or Burbecker. Town and Country is the one that did the wastewater treatment plant 10 years ago, and they did the same format of signatures, so that's why it was presented the way it is. And yeah, so it was all budgeted, just a project for the wastewater that we obviously want to get out of there, so we don't have issues. There is a abandoned water main pipe with it that's going to both get removed once the new pipe is directional drilled in from the south side of the dike underneath to North Park by the right field fence is where it's going to be, so it'll be just beyond the driveway. It's where they're going to tie into it.
So the risk, if you will, we could have, if we had a significant flooding event, we could have raw sewage in the Pine River.
Well, absolutely. We need to get it lower.
So it'll be buried under the river.
Yep.
Instead of kind of seen in the river.
Correct.
Okay. Questions?
Can I just add something? So last year, the utilities, Scott, as well as the other department heads, they met with us, with Jason, myself, et cetera, and we discussed what capital improvement projects do we have to look forward to next year and the years after, et cetera. Typically, what you guys have been approving over the recent years is a big street project where we address water, sewer, electric, as well as the road. And this year, we opted not to do a major street project, and it really allowed other projects like this to be addressed. So things that needed to be done, but very difficult to accommodate a large street project plus something like this. So it was a strategic year of taking off of a major street project to allow these other types of projects to get addressed.
Yeah, and Mr. Fisher has expressed concern over this for a while now. This wasn't just a, hey, let's do it. This has been going on a little while.
And to Ashley's point, I mean, the cost of these street projects to do several blocks, where the rates are, and we want to continue to hold the rates or reduce them, it's not going to be feasible to do a street project every year. That's where we're talking every other year or every third year to be able to do that. And then water can, do a one-off block that's not going to interfere with the streets. And we're having those conversations all the time of what makes sense. So.
Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, I will sign those after the meeting, Mr. Galt, Mr. Stone. Okay, number 6, DOT setback at Quick Trip East, Mr. Glassburner.
All right, so you do have a cover sheet in your packet there. I'm just going to read this. I tried to write it very concisely. But Quick Trip officials requested and the DOT granted the rescission of a 25-foot setback and associated restrictions affecting the property at the Quick Trip East location. Some of you may be aware, but we've been working for some time on the city side to accommodate Quick Trip kind of redeveloping their site there that's close to Walmart. The city is also being asked to sign the rescission document, which is in your packet. And you can see that the DOT has signed it. The restrictions were part of a previous DOT policy that lasted for about 5 years in the early 2000s. If you look at the document that's in your packet, it was signed in 2003. That document and the 25-foot setback had been challenged, legally challenged, and it found to be unenforceable. So basically the DOT was taken to court by developers, and the DOT was told you can't have a 25-foot setback or administer a 25-foot setback that is outside of the highway right-of-way that you are obtaining. Now, the municipality has the ability to establish setbacks from the right-of-way, but they determined that the DOT could not do that. So the DOT is required to sign these documents, and I have consulted with the DOT representative, Joe Rocks, city zoning administrator, and Ashley, our city administrator, with regard to the appropriateness of us signing it. Everybody has agreed. We did briefly discuss this with Michael as well. Everyone has agreed that it's appropriate for us to go ahead and execute the document. So my suggested motion today, or requested action, is that the council approve the execution of the rescission document as provided by the Wisconsin DOT, removing the Wisconsin DOT 25-foot highway setback and all corresponding notes and restrictions.
Entertain that motion.
So moved.
Motion from Ms. Walters. Mr. Downs with the second. Is there discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll have a roll call.
Schultz.
Aye.
Walters. Aye. Downs.
Aye.
Cairns.
Aye.
Fruit.
Aye.
Tetley.
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
Motion is carried.
Okay, next up, item 7, request for consent to assign from Town and Country Sanitation. So if you haven't heard yet, Town and Country Sanitation has been sold. Therefore, our contract needs to be assigned to the new owner. Now, that contract runs to the end of the calendar year, I believe.
Correct.
So later in the year, we'll need to do a request for proposal to get a new contract with garbage collector
Correct.
for next year. Okay, what do we have on this agreement?
So Michael has reviewed the consent to assign, hasn't cited any opposition to executing that, so the request is to sign that. Town and Country, as the mayor mentioned, has been sold to BFI Waste Services, known as Republic. BFI Waste Services is a waste company, a national waste company, and so Republic Services now owns BFI. And so in the document, you'll see this is with Republic. So they're asking the city to sign the document so that the new owner can continue providing the services until our contract runs out at the end of the year. Like the mayor said, we have to go through an RFP process to solicit potential vendors for the garbage services. And so this will just allow us to continue receiving garbage and recycling services as we have.
Questions? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, just a quick clarification maybe. In the document under, I guess it's the third paragraph, number 2, waives the right to terminate the contract as a result of the assignment, waives any right to terminate.
So that just means that we can't terminate the contract because of the sale.
Okay.
So any of the other terms under which we could terminate the contract stay in place with this new company.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, if none, I'll entertain a motion to grant consent to assign, to sign the consent to assign from Town and Country Sanitation.
So moved, Mayor.
Motion from Mr. Fruit, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Whoa, wait a minute, now that's a tie. You gotta call that one.
I'm gonna call her Schultz. She's the
Okay,
winner.
and the motion and the second, any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll have a roll call on that.
Tepley,
Aye.
McCarthy,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Walters. Aye. Downs,
Aye.
Cairns,
Aye.
Fruit.
Aye.
Motion is carried.
Okay, item 8, shared ride taxi program, quarter 1, 2025 review. Ashley.
Yes, so to begin with, we did just complete a compliance review with the DOT, which is essentially an audit. As a result of that audit, we have some recommendations that the DOT has provided, one of which is that we implement a quarterly review of the shared ride taxi service, which is what we're doing this evening. So you're looking at quarter 1 data in the packet, and I've also included quarter 1 data from 2024. So you have that comparison and you can see the percent change between the 2 years. The DOT also required that we amend our financial policy to include language that is required for federal contracts, and since we do receive federal grant dollars for the shared ride taxi service, we have to incorporate the language. It's revolving around procedures for determining the allowability of costs. So it's not something that we currently have in our policy, and it's something that we'll need to amend it to include, and that will be before finance at their next meeting in June. They also recommended updating the website with the most up-to-date taxi information. So if you go on the city's website under administration, there's a shared ride taxi tab on the left side, so you can find data about our provider, the rates, the hours, contact information, that sort of stuff. They also have recommendations for updating our Title VI plan. They want us to use a DOT template for that Title VI plan. And then also there was some language changes with around equal opportunity employment. So just some tweaking to language that we have on various things like job applications, etc. So of the findings, none of them are significant or critical in nature, and they're all easily incorporated and addressed. You'll notice in the data that you have from the statistics from our shared ride taxi, there has been, I would say, a significant decrease in ridership. And when there are less riders, there's less fare. So we do have a larger gap in the taxi service funding. So we receive federal and state dollars for reimbursements, but they do not cover the entire cost of the shared ride taxi program. So what we try to do each year is have our revenues fill that gap. But with lower ridership, the revenue's not going to fill the gap. And so, you know, could be various reasons for decreased ridership, but this year I think it's only obvious to say that we have a provider in the city that we did not have in previous years. So there's competition, there's choice, which is a great thing for residents to have options as far as service goes. But what that means for the city and the city's budget is it's going to be very difficult if we continue on this trend, because we will have a larger gap that, like I said, grant dollars and fare revenue won't cover, so that means tax levy dollars will have to cover that gap. So in the report that you have before you, I just outlined some key things and then some recommendations. So really analyzing the reasons for the decline in ridership, looking at our fares. This is something that we've talked about before. Our fare structure has not been changed in many, many years, if ever, really. And so we should be looking at adjusting those fares, but we also need to be mindful of the effect of those adjustments. So if we're already experiencing decreased ridership, we have to be cautious because adjusting fares upward might exacerbate that problem. We did have, notably in the first quarter this year, 2 accidents. I don't have details about those accidents to share with you tonight, but there were 2 accidents that were considered reportable. So that's an important thing to be aware of. No fatalities, thankfully, but that does indicate that there may be some additional evaluation or inquiry necessary related to the safety measures or protocols, training, etc. that need to be looked into to make sure that all of the necessary standards are being met and that we're providing a safe service. So overall, as I mentioned, there are some very concerning things with this data and things that we need to take a closer look at and keep monitoring and determine how to move forward. So I'll continue to provide this information to you at the very least on a quarterly basis.
One simple correction, Ashley stated that there hadn't been this other provider before. There was, but the new ownership has been much more aggressive in promoting that business.
Correct, you're absolutely correct. The town taxi is the newer provider, but there had been a previous provider that just did not operate at the scale. And one of the data points you'll see in here are agency fares, agency trips. The previous provider did not engage in that.
And this is contracted work. It's a whole different category. I believe, and I'm no expert on this, but I believe when you're engaging in those sort of contracts, you can't do the shared ride. I think you can't cross that.
You're limited.
There you
You're
go.
very limited. One other thing I didn't say that I'll mention in here, for the first quarter, we did not receive any complaints, us directly, the city, nor did running. However, I did receive a complaint just today, a concern about the speed of travel of the taxi, and I did ask this individual if they had made that report to running. They indicated that running had been made aware of that too. So in the quarter 2 report, there will be at least a complaint as it was received today.
Questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Okay, next item up then would be item 8, let's see, item 9, ordinance 2025-04, naming and branding policy. Ashley, what do we have here?
So yeah, the city has previously adopted branding guidelines. It's had memorial programs, things like that, where the city has established certain guidelines or expectations, like through the branding, what our color scheme is, what colors we're supposed to use, that sort of thing, to have consistency and cohesiveness. The memorial programs we've had were with trees or benches, things like that, where we could name certain things. But we've never had, at least that I'm aware of, any sort of policy that outlines what the council's desires are as far as naming goes. So the policy that you have before you does just that. It establishes a process for naming things. It provides definitions and then different parties that need to be involved. Like I said, it addresses branding as well as naming. It does have a requirement for naming things like parks, etc., that would go before the Public Works Committee for consideration. The Public Works Director would be involved in that. And then certain criteria to consider about naming. Of course, we wouldn't want to have anything named that would be offensive or anything of that nature. So this just establishes certain criteria and creates a path in order for departments to execute the wishes of the council. And with that is included an ordinance as well. So there is there's language in different ordinances that allows certain, maybe like the park board or something like that, certain authorities. So what the ordinance you have before you does is it would repeal any sort of language in any existing ordinances that grants naming or branding authority to any other entity of a subunit of the city, and reserves that right for the council. So the council would ultimately have the final decision in any naming or branding of any really element of the city, whether that be a department name or a park bench or anything like that.
Questions?
I have a question.
Please.
So are there any timelines on these namings?
Yes, so in the policy, it does have a timeline for the review. I'm sorry, I'm looking at it right now.
I meant when it would run out? Or is it just that it gets named until further notice or until there's a change?
Yeah, that's correct, yes. And so there is in the policy, it addresses removal. So in the instance where something was named, if someone wanted to change the name of that or remove that name, they would have to follow the process outlined within that policy and get council approval for the removal.
I have one more question. And then with the naming and this policy, it is done without a contribution from the person? Or is it like selling the rights to have a name on something for a period of time?
So this isn't geared towards like commercial naming, if that's kind of what you're referencing. And usually we don't see that unless it's related to a donation. So for example, I know Public Works and Parks and Rec, they're working on a scoreboard donation. And as part of that donation, the donor would like their logo on that scoreboard. So that would be something typically handled in that realm. Whereas this would be more applicable to, you can think of like public assets. So do we own a building or do we own a park or something like that, where we would want to officially name it.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Okay, I'll read this one. Ordinance number 2025-04, an ordinance establishing the exclusive authority of the Common Council of the City of Richland Center over the naming and branding of public assets, departments, and subunits, and to repeal conflicting ordinances. Whereas the City of Richland Center recognizes the importance of a cohesive and well-managed approach to the naming and branding of its public assets, departments, and subunits, and whereas vesting sole authority in the Common Council ensures transparency, accountability, and alignment with the city's strategic objectives and the public interest, and whereas to eliminate confusion and maintain consistent governance, it is necessary to repeal any prior ordinances or provisions that delegate naming or branding authority to entities other than the Common Council. And now therefore the Common Council of the City of Richland Center, Wisconsin does hereby ordain as follows. Section 1, authority over naming of public assets. 1, the Common Council of the City of Richland Center retains final authority requiring a majority vote to approve, modify, or deny the naming, renaming, or removal of names for all city-owned public assets, such as parks, buildings, memorials, and trails. 2, the Common Council may establish a policy for reviewing proposals and making determinations regarding the naming of public assets, provided each such procedures do not delegate final authority to any other entity. Section 2, authority over city branding. 1, the Common Council retains final authority requiring a majority vote to approve, modify, or deny all branding elements, including but not limited to logos, slogans, and color schemes used by the city, its departments, and subunits. 2, no department, subunit, or other entity of the city shall adopt, alter, or use branding elements inconsistent with the city's branding identity guidelines without prior approval by a majority vote of the Common Council. Section 3, repeal of conflicting ordinances. 1, any and all prior ordinances, resolutions, or policies granting naming or branding authority to any entity other than the Common Council are hereby repealed in their entirety. Section 4, administration. The city administrator is hereby authorized and directed to take all actions necessary and proper to implement and administer the provisions of this ordinance. This authority includes, but is not limited to, establishing administrative procedures, ensuring compliance by all city departments and subunits, and taking any other steps necessary to effectuate the intent and purpose of this ordinance. Section 5, severability. If any provision of this ordinance is found to be invalid or unenforceable by a court of competent jurisdiction, such invalidity or unenforceability shall not affect the remaining provisions, which shall continue in full force and effect. Section 6, effective date. This ordinance shall take effect upon its passage and publication as required by law. All right, that's it. Questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve this?
And if it could be the ordinance and policy.
Motion, is there a motion to approve the ordinance and the policy?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Walters, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Downs, is there discussion? Hearing none, we'll need a roll call.
Walters. Aye. Downs.
Aye.
Cairns.
Aye.
Fruit.
Aye.
Hepley,
Aye.
McCarthy,
Aye.
Schultz. Aye. Motion is carried.
Okay, item 10, preliminary 2026 budget discussion. This is going to be ongoing through the summer into the fall, just to make sure that our council is fully vested and informed on the budget process and how the budget is crafted, how the administrator gets us there. And tonight, Ashley and I talked about this, and kind of just the first introduction into this is just how things begin actually at the committee level. Do you want to comment on what you said to me? Do you not?
Sure, I can.
Go ahead,
certainly
yeah.
can.
Go ahead.
So, you know, the council adopts every year, the council adopts a budget, which is the most, as I say every year, important policy document that the council will adopt. It establishes the priorities of the council and it sets the direction for all of the departments. As you know, it's a very collaborative effort between the departments, myself, council, finance. It's a very involved process that we look at just day-to-day operations, the line items that we have, as well as capital improvement projects like the Highway 80 wastewater project that's happening this year. And then, once those get adopted, it's up to the department head to manage that budget. And the department heads are bringing their expenditures to committees. And so the mayor and I talked about that. So the very first level of budget review and management is with the department head. They're ultimately responsible for that budget, but then the second level really is at the committee. So one of the important functions of the committee is to be looking at those expenses, understanding the needs of the department, making recommendations to finance, and then ultimately to council for purchases. Our policy does require any purchase over $3,000 does go before finance, but really before that home committee. So if Public Works needs to make a purchase, they're going to the Public Works Committee first, and there's that initial review by elected officials at the committee level, so it really is an important function of a committee.
Okay, and just a quick example, all of you approved this tonight, we paid these bills, so a lot of the bills that you see are recurring, but there's some that are not, and all of you, when finance reviews this, you all get a chance to read them and review them before they get paid. As we begin the process of preparing for the 2026 budget, which of course will be approved later this year, kind of a quick way to start getting your head around where the money's going. It's right there every time. What did we spend? Where did it go? And what did we buy? Do that. Make sure you're reading through some of that to make sure you're up to speed. And the reason this is happening, as we went through last year, and when it came time to approve the budget, it was a little bit different process than the last few before that because of what inflation has done. And we also had some of our funding sources, and we'll get into detail on this at probably the next meeting, but where our money comes from. And a couple of sources actually decreased a little bit. At the same time, some bills went up, and you can't, that's going to cause trouble. So at some point, you'll all be asked to make some big choices, to get the budget done. And I want to make sure everybody gets a fair chance to ask and answer questions along the way. And this was just a quick introduction tonight of how we're going to get there. Does anybody have any questions or comments on it? Okay, thank you, Ashley. Okay, next is Finance Committee recommendations and action. Mr. Ryan Cairns.
Number 11, investment of public funds, HUD CPF grant project. We discussed this at Finance directly before the council meeting. Jason, since you did such a great job explaining it, would you be willing to do that again?
Sure.
Thank you.
So in your packet, you do have an agenda cover sheet on this one, and as you're well aware, in 2024, the city was awarded a U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Community Project Funding Grant in the total of $2.5 million. The grant was initially applied for under the auspice of doing infrastructure development for the hospital, the new hospital location. However, due to some changes in the hospital's plan, they postponed the project. We hear from anywhere from 7 to 9 years. We know they're continuously talking about it. I actually have meetings with them on a fairly regular basis to try to assist them in developing their site, but their build is 7 to 9 years out. And And that presented an issue where we tried to figure out if there was a responsible way to invest funds at the site for infrastructure. And what we determined is that it would, in essence, be a waste of money, because we would be building something that would potentially not be used for 7 to 9 years, or maybe longer than that. So we contacted HUD and worked with also our congressional representatives, Tammy Baldwin's office as well as Derek Van Orden's office, to figure out if we could reallocate the grant dollars to other projects that were important to the community. We did discuss this as well with the Finance Committee at a previous meeting, where we asked them for their input on a number of projects that we had listed. On your agenda cover sheet, you have 4 projects that are listed. The first one is Hive Drive Public Right-of-Way Improvements. The second, Jefferson Street redevelopment. The third, Highway 14 and County Trunk O. And the fourth is Lamont Residential Housing Subdivision Development. All of them would involve the need for funding to improve the infrastructure: sewer, water, electric, storm sewer, and the roads. There's brief description of each of those. We would like to highlight that the Hive Drive, there is a potential for matching funds, so the $200,000 listed there would represent about 50% of the total project cost. That would involve improving Hive Drive, the stormwater system there, pedestrian traffic, and potentially looking at the intersection there at Hive Drive, because we do have 92 units of apartments coming online that will only cause additional congestion there. The second is Jefferson Street redevelopment. As you know, obviously we have the ownership of almost a full block there, where we're contemplating the development of a hotel. It's looking at the infrastructure there, saying, is it in good condition? Is there anything we need to do for the parking lots, which have been a topic of conversation for some time in Public Works. The third is Highway 14 and County Trunk O. This is a project that potentially could offer a road, stormwater, again, all the utility infrastructure extension across Highway 14 and through the intersection of 14 in the direction of the Starlight Cinema. The reason that has become a topic of recent is that there has been development, expressed interest in developing that area. And so as we look at how can we promote that in the community, or how can the council, our answer is, well, we're typically asked at this point to contribute an infrastructure. That one, we did have a conversation at Finance, and it was a good lengthy conversation, but we're suggesting that there's some type of limitation on determining whether or not a reversionary clause can be removed from the property there before the city would be interested in putting money or investing money, because you don't want to invest the money and find out that it gets tied up in a legal battle or something like that, where the city has basically built a road to nowhere. Project number 4 is Lamont Residential Housing Subdivision. Again, we've been talking about that for some time. Housing is a critical need, has been discussed here a couple of different times this evening. It will have a longer development timeline, but all necessary steps are being followed. I had a conversation today with Mr. Lamont and Ellen Keller Evans today regarding the development, and they're rearing and ready to go and would like to see the development progress. So I think with that, Ryan, I just take questions or answer anything that you think is important to the conversation.
Does anybody have any questions for Jason? None? Melanie, can you remind me the motion you had?
Would you like me to make the motion?
Or remind me. I remember the deadline. Was
So,
that the only thing that changed?
yep,
So, motion to authorize the submission of the grant application and all related materials for the stated projects with the condition that the reversion clause affecting the Starlight project must be cured by August 30th. If the reversion clause is not cured within that time frame, August 30th, 2025, if the Reversing clause is not cured within that time frame. The Starlight project shall be removed from the application and any remaining grant funds shall be allocated to the Lamont project. That is my motion.
Motion from Mr. Cairns, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Ms. Tebley, is there discussion? Hearing none, let's have a roll call, please.
McCarthy.
Aye.
Schultz. Aye. Walters. Aye. Downs.
Aye.
Cairns.
Aye.
Fruit.
Aye.
Tepley.
Aye.
Motion is carried.
Thank you. Item 12, consider acceptance of a dugout donation. In your packet, you'll see that the North Park, the Richland Center Youth Baseball Softball group wants to donate roughly $6,000 to build some dugouts in the North Park. We discussed this at Finance and recommended to Council, so my motion to approve Resolution 2025-06, acceptance of a monetary donation from Richland Center Youth Baseball Softball for the acquisition and construction of new dugouts for Youth Field Number 1.
Motion from Mr. Cairns, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Downs, is there discussion? Hearing none, we'll need a roll call.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make sure the resolution does cover and acknowledge another group, which is the High School Industrial Arts Program, which is the labor that will be provided. So they've come alongside and said, hey, we're gonna go ahead and take this on as a high school project. And so they would be erecting the buildings. And so I'm thankful to Riley Blair, who is the instructor there, and the team that he's going to assemble to allow them to be built. So,
This is the Richland Center High School Industrial Arts Program.
yes.
Thank you to everyone associated, thanks for pointing that out. Okay.
Ready? Walters. Aye. Downs.
Aye.
Cairns.
Aye.
Fruit.
Aye.
Tepley.
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
Schultz. Aye. Motion is carried.
Thank you. Number 13, Richland Airport QT Pod Fuel System 5-year subscription renewal. There is a handout in your packet that goes through this. Jason, would you just like to give a little overview?
Yeah, it's a contract that is required to keep our automatic petroleum on-demand dispenser active. And so it allows a pilot at an unmanned airport or unmanned airport to land. If they need fuel, they drive up to our pump, swipe a credit card, indicate how much fuel they want to put in. So it's much like your pumps at the gas station, right? You don't even have to go in anymore. So the system that is in place requires this software and this management contract in order for that to remain active. So at this point, it is a required element of our fuel farm. So the recommendation was to go ahead and approve this 5-year contract at $7,180.
With QT Pod, that will be my motion.
Motion from Mr. Cairns, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Rachel, is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll have a roll call there.
Fruit.
Aye.
Tepley.
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
Schultz. Aye. Walters. Aye. Downs.
Aye.
Cairns.
Aye.
Motion is carried.
Thank you. Number 14, digital billboard advertising package renewal. You'll see in your packet, the digital billboard, we're at our renewal for our contract. We get a discounted rate, and Ashley spoke at Finance of how well it's being used, and I'm sure we could all agree to that. My motion would be to authorize the execution of a 52-week lease renewal for a digital billboard advertising package with the Lamar Company at a cost not to exceed $6,500.
We have the motion from Mr. Cairns, is there a second?
Second.
I think Mr. Downs got that one. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call.
Schultz. Aye. Walters. Aye. Downs.
Aye.
Cairns.
Aye.
Fruit.
Aye.
Tepley.
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
Motion is carried.
All right, moves us on to appointments to committees, commissions, boards, and confirm. We have a few of these tonight. Emergency Government Coordinator, Mr. Billy Jones, expressed interest. I think it's a great choice. So Billy Jones for Emergency Government Coordinator. I'll just do these in one. For Historic Preservation, there are 2 openings. I have 1 ready to go. Mr. Brett Keller. Let's skip that. Skip the next one. Tree Board, I have a surprise for Mr. Tom McCarthy. So at this point, motion to confirm those 3, Billy Jones, Emergency Government Coordinator, Brett Keller, Historic Preservation, Tom McCarthy, Tree Board. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Karen, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Fruit. Any discussion?
Yeah, why are you putting Tom on the tree board?
I just think he earned it.
What did he do?
What did you do?
His lack of
What did you
pizza
do?
skills.
He got to get off ambulance this time, and I think it's time for him to step up and take trees. All right, all right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Congratulations, Tom. Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That was carried. Okay, now, the city forester is not appointed by the mayor. It's actually appointed by the tree board. I hope you're taking notes, Mr. McCarthy. And then confirmed by the council. Mr. Fruit was in attendance at the last tree board meeting. Tell us what happened.
The tree board recommends that Tess Hamlin be reappointed as the city forester.
Okay, so the tree board is appointing Tess Hamlin to the position of city forester. Is there a motion to confirm?
So moved.
Wow. I'm going to go with Ron. Is there a second?
Second.
Second for Mr. Downs. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, if I might?
Yes, you might.
I just want to suggest that Tess has been an excellent employee. We coordinate on these things because oftentimes, being the forester intersects with lots of things, including the utilities and the right-of-ways and, the streets department. And Tess has, at every instance where she's been asked to do things like this, in my opinion, has done an excellent job. So I appreciate your recommendation and concur that I think she can continue on and does an excellent job.
Okay, so before we conduct the vote, we'll take that a step further. So, and this is for actually the public's benefit, because the people who live in town, they don't see what we see when we're in the building consistently and from my front window, because I live across from the cemetery. Tess does great work in the field for the department she works in, and when we were short-staffed down here, she filled in the clerk's office many times, and I never got a complaint about anything she did. They're completely different disciplines, completely different jobs, and she handled them both with no issues at all. And then when we had a forester opening, that's the one she really wanted. That's where her heart is. She likes to use the word horticulture a lot, so if we could get Carson Culver to come down and define what that is, as he used to do for us. But for real, Tess does a lot of things and for us, and she's never argued with us, and she's always just said, yes, I will, or yes, I can. And every time we asked her to, she did. Did I miss anything in that?
Tess is also our subject matter expert on the cemetery. She really took the lead on the cemetery GIS project. So she is a great resource for so many different things. For those of you that haven't had an opportunity to check it out or weren't aware, on the city's website, if you look up cemetery, there is a link to a GIS map that Tess was critical in developing. It's really, really amazing and a great reflection of her work.
Absolutely.
And further, Mayor, I think it's fair to say then that she's also maintained a commitment to continuing education so that the work that she will continue to do for the city will only be improved from what it's been in the past.
Outstanding. All right. I wish he was here now. Okay, we've got the motion and the second. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That one's carried. Okay. Next we would have, that's everything for tonight on that one. Next we'll have public comment. I've not been made aware of anyone who would like to address the council. Mr. Perry, would you like to address the council?
No.
Okay.
Are you sure?
All right. Well, thank you, Ron. That puts us at at adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn today's meeting? Ms. Tepley, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Downs, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, this motion is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Motion is